Hare Krishna, and a hearty welcome to today's wonderful appearance day of the beloved deities of Sadguru Narayan Prabhu and Nandini Rupa Mataji and Gauranga and his Dadi. Nitai Gauranga, Sri Nitai Gauranga. And today is also wonderful, very, very special date is the appearance day of Srivas Thakur, one of the members of the Panchatattva. So, very, very auspicious day today. And thank you all for coming and participating in the Abhishek. A few of you missed it, but you can participate in the Pushya Abhishek, second half. So we are going to continue with our discussion of the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, and we finished discussing the second verse or the second Mangala Charan. Bande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gaurudaya Pushpananto Chitra Samdo Tamo Nudo. So we discussed. So we discussed how Sri Gaur Nitai, right? They appear with so much effulgence, more than millions of moons and suns together, right? And they appear simultaneously, just like the moon and the sun. And what do? They come to bestow their blessings and to remove the darkness that is there within our hearts. And how do they bestow their blessings? They connect us with, who do they connect us with? They connect us to Bhagavat. And Bhagavat means what? The person Bhagavat or the book Bhagavat. And last time we discussed in great detail. Right? And what type of darkness do they dispel in our hearts? Maya, okay. What type of Maya?
Ignorance.
So basically, yes, they dispel all selfish desires and motives that are deep rooted in our hearts, including they may be desires and ill motivations even when we pursue the path of dharma. There's many times in the name of dharma, we try to live our own selfish desires. And Gaur Nitai have especially come, right, to dispel that, all types of darkness, especially even the darkness on the path of, or the cheating tendency on the path of dharma. So very, very deep-rooted this tendency is, this cheating tendency. And it takes the special mercy of Sri Gaur Nitai to remove this darkness. And we hear that when they appear, they, the whole world is full of, surcharged with what? Surcharged with happiness. Because when this cheating tendency is removed and we engage in pure devotional service, then only there can be peace and happiness. So we discussed the verse from the Bhagavatam. Save pumsam paro dharma yato bhakti radhokshaja ahituki apratihata yayatma suprasiddhati. So, and then we get the ultimate gift, which is explained that Dui Bhagavata Dwara Diya Bhakti Rasa Tanhare hridaye tandra prema hoy vasa. So we are gifted with the mellows of transcendental loving service, bhakti ras. And ultimately that bhakti ras leads to what? The awakening of prema in the heart. Tanhara hriday tandra prema hoy vas. So this is so beautiful. And then today we will start from text number 105. So before we start, let us chant Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Gana.
Jaya Jaya Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Gana.
Shakti Deha Kore Nyena Chaitanya Varnana.
Shakti Deha Kare Yena Chaitanya Varnana.
Shakti Deha Kore Yena Chaitanya Varnana.
Shakti Deha Kare Yena Chaitanya Varnana.
So today we will start with text number 105. So in this text, Kaviraj Goswami says that I purposely avoid extensive description for fear of increasing the bulk of this book. So what he does is, he's trying to describe the essence in minimum of words. And this he says, essential truth spoken concisely is true eloquence. And the more we will read the Caitanya Caritamrita, we will realize that how eloquently Kaviraj Goswami describes the pastimes and the Siddhanta. So in just short verses, he packs so much meaning in most of the verses. And this is what he tries. He says that Sunile khandibe chittira jnanadi dosha. Krishna gada prema hobe paibe santosha.
Krishna Gada Prema Habe Paibe Santosha.
Now he's revealing the secret. He says, simply hearing submissively, what will happen? That this will free one's heart from all faults of ignorance. And what will one achieve? Deep love, right, for Krishna. And he says, this is the path of peace. He says, Paibe Santosha. And then in the next two verses, he makes a request, right? He says, Shri Caitanya Nityananda Advaita Mahatva.
Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Advaita Mahatma.
Tanra Bhakta Bhakti Nama Prema Rasa Tattva. Bhinna bhinna likhi achi koriya vichara. Shunile janibe swabha vasta tattva sara. So if one patiently hears about the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda and Sri Advaita Prabhu and their devotees, devotional activities, name and fame, along with the mellows of their transcendental loving exchanges, one will learn the essence of the absolute truth. And this is what he has tried to reveal. Right? Bhinna bhinna likhiyachi koriye vichar. Right? Again, this word has come, vichar. Contemplation. So this Caitanya Charitamrita is actually the deep contemplation of Kaviraj Goswami. And what is he contemplating and presenting? The great mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His deepmost realizations he has shared. And as we see that with every realization, what does he do? What does he do? You have to hear more attentively now. This next part is very philosophically heavy. So, what does he do with every statement he makes in Bengali? What does he tend to do?
He's giving a statement from Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes, not only from Srimad Bhagavatam, but from various scriptures. So he makes a statement, and after a few verses, you'll see he'll support it with a statement from the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is the most quoted in almost, I think there are around 1,000 verses from other scriptures, or 800 and something from other scriptures. And out of that, I think 500 are from the Bhagavatam. So, and then he's quoted from almost more than 40 scriptures. And we'll see in the coming now, he will support from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Brahma Samhita, so many different verses he will take from the 6 Goswamis literature. So don't forget this, because you'll see it when you read attentively, then you'll see this pattern. Even in the first chapter we've seen that he has quoted so many verses from the Bhagavatam. And then he ends the chapter like this is his signature style of ending the chapter. Right? Every chapter will have this verse at the end. That is, Sri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Yara Asha. Caitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna dāsā. So he prays to the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Goswami, and he's praying for their mercy, so that he can narrate the Caitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps. So this is the conclusion of the first chapter. So does anyone remember some of the key points that we discussed in the first chapter? Anything you remember from the first chapter? Okay, one at a time. Okay, how does this chapter start? Mangala Charan. Okay, how many Mangala Charans? 14, right? What does he do after the Mangala Charan?
Prayers from the spiritual masters.
He prays to the 3 deities of Vrindavan. What are the names of the 3 deities? Okay. And then, what does he do? He describes what a Mangala Charan is. How many types of Mangala Charan are there? Huh? 3. Right. So one is Namaskar, offering obeisances. One is Ashirvad, offering benedictions. And the third one is called Vastu Nirdesh. Right? That is describing the objective. Or describing the Supreme Lord. So those are 3 types of Mangala Charan. Then what does he do? He explains that he gives a summary of the 14 Mangala Charans. And he gives a breakdown. So the first 6 are for whom? Huh? For Guru. Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay. Then, how many for him? 5, yes. And then, how much is it? 3? 2 for Advaita Acharya? And 1 for Panchatattva. Okay. So you must have your math correct. Caitanya Caritamrita math. Huh? 14 Mangala, because this whole, 7 chapters are explaining these 14 verses. Okay. The first 7 chapters. That means this whole Adi Lila part 1. It's only explaining these 14 verses. So that's why if you have the math correct, then you know the flow. So 14, so 6, 5, 2 and 1. And then what does he do? He offers his obeisances to the 6 manifestations of the Lord. What are the 6 manifestations of the Lord?
Ishwar, Bhakt, Isham, Ishan,
Krishna Guru Bhakta Shakti Avatar Prakash. H hoy Rupe Kore Krishna Vilas. Vilas. Right? This is how he enjoys his pastimes. Krishna, Guru, Bhakta, Shakti. Right? And then Avatar and Prakash. 6 manifestations of the Lord, which are described in the first verse. Vande Gurun Isha Bhaktam Isha Avatarakam Tat Prakasham Tat Shakti, right? Sri Chaitanya Samagakam. Right? So these are 6 manifestations of Lord. And then he describes. He starts with which tattva first? Guru tattva. Okay. And the Guru, Krishna appears as the Guru in how many forms? 2 forms. Which are those 2 forms? No, 2 types of Gurus are there.
Guru and
Yes. Chaitya Guru and Siksha Guru. Right? And Gurus of, like physical Guru is 2 forms. Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru. And usually who becomes your Diksha Guru? No, huh? Yeah, from whom Prabhupada writes, usually the one who we take most Siksha from becomes the Diksha Guru. And then he gives example of whom in the to explain how these Gurus help us, right, to understand the absolute truth. How do they help us? Whose examples do they share? Like Kaviraj Goswami, he shares 2 examples. Yeah, he shares and Brahmaji is, who does he get enlightened by?
from the Vishnu.
Yeah, so he gives the example of the Chaitya Guru because he can't see anyone. So he hears tapa and he hears the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, after he performs tapasya. The Lord appears. So first he appears from within the heart, right? And he gives him the instruction to form tapasya. And then for Diksha and Siksha Guru, which example does he give?
For Siksha Guru, Bilva Mangal Thakur.
Yes. You remember his example? Yes. Chintamani. And then he has another guru when he goes to Vrindavan. Who is that? Soma
wife of some Brahman.
Somagiri, I am forgetting the name.
Soma.
And then what did you discuss after that? We discussed Guru, then Bhakta. So after discussing Guru Tattva, and Prabhupada has given such wonderful points in his purports that I have shared with all of you in the notes. And if you read that, your whole concept of Guru Tattva becomes so clear. So many points he has given in his purports. Then after Guru Tattva, he discussed Bhakta, right? And he discussed that how one should avoid bad association and take the shelter of the devotees. Because only in the association of devotees are we able to understand and discuss these very, very confidential truths. These deep mysteries, rahasya, not possible on our own or discussing with mundane people. It's only possible in the close company of devotees that we can even have a chance of understanding this philosophy and this mystery of the Supreme Lord. And after discussing that, what did he discuss? Yes. What are the 3 types of avatars? So there are 3 categories of avatars: Amsa avatar, Guna avatar, and Shaktivesh avatar. And Amsa avatar, there are 4 types. Lila avatars, Purusha avatars, Yuga avatars, and the 4th one is Manvantara avatars. Okay, 3 categories, 6 types. Okay. And then Prakash.
Prakash and Vilas avatar.
Yes. So Prakash is of 2 types. Vilas forms and Prakash forms. Right? One is direct.
And one is
One are expansions but in the same form, and the other is expansions in different forms.
like Dwarkadhish and Ras Lila Krishna.
Yes, those are same forms.
Same form.
And then Krishna, takes also the form of the Chaturvyuha. He expands into Lord Balaram. So they have different forms. And the last thing we discussed was, before we discuss the second verse, we discussed Shakti Tattva. And 3 types. What are the 3 types of? Yes. And who are the topmost? Gopis. Okay. So now is this chapter making a little more sense? See how wonderfully he's explained the first verse. Then how wonderfully he's explained the second verse. And now this whole chapter, the second chapter, he's going to explain the third verse. This whole chapter, I think there are 120 verses. He's going to focus on one verse. So let us try and enter into the mystery of the third verse of the Mangala Charan. So chapter 2 is entitled Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada says in the introduction that this chapter explains that Lord Caitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Because Lord Krishna Chaitanya is non-different from Lord Krishna, he is the cause of all causes. There is no cause beyond him. He is eternal and his form is spiritual. Lord Chaitanya is directly the Supreme Lord Krishna, as the evidence of authoritative scriptures prove. So now Prabhupada says right at the end, this chapter stresses that a devotee who wishes to advance in Krishna consciousness must have knowledge of Krishna's personal form, his three principal energies, his pastimes, and the relationship of the living entities with him. Very important that we try to understand the knowledge of Krishna's personal form, his three principal energies, his pastimes, and the relationship that we have with him. So let us begin with the first. The first verse of every chapter is offering pranam and appreciation. Sometimes, either pranam or pranam and appreciation together. Okay, so Shri Caitanya Prabhu Vande, Balupi Yad Anugrahat, Tare Nana Matagraha, Vyaptam Siddhanta Sagaram. I offer my obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even an ignorant child can swim across the ocean of conclusive truth, which is full of crocodiles of various theories. So here he's making a very, very nice appreciation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By offering him pranams, he's appreciating that by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, that even a child can swim through what he describes this whole ocean of various different theories, including, there's so many, even on the path of dharma, there's so many different types of paths. Different manifestations of God, like Brahman, Paramatma. And then there is Nirvishesha, Shunyavadi. So many different types of, Prabhupada says, philosophical doctrines that are like dangerous aquatic animals. So he says, full of crocodiles of various theories. So what chance is if you're a child and if you swim through an ocean full of crocodiles, what's the chance of surviving? There's no chance. That's why we see in this world that even in the name of dharma, what to talk about, materialism, even in the name of dharma, so many activities take place that are really, really bewildering. Not only just bewildering, they're so distasteful and so selfishly motivated sometimes. You wonder that, can this actually happen in dharma? So what happens? So many different types of gurus, so many types of bhagavans, so many types of avatars. Everyone is claiming. So then there's so much confusion. And then there is, ultimately what happens, people become so cynical, they say this is all nonsense. Forget it. Let's put it aside. Let's, focus on something positive, make money, make a big house, have good contacts, do something in the world, contribute. But Lord Chaitanya's mercy, that we can have real understanding of the essence of knowledge by avoiding these sectarian views and accepting the lotus feet of Krishna as the ultimate goal of life. Just imagine that if we had not read Prabhupada's books, then what would we be doing? And what is Srila Prabhupada giving us? He's giving us Gauravani Pracharine. He is giving us the access to Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And by accessing the mercy of Lord Chaitanya through Srila Prabhupada and our great parampara, we are able to understand to some extent the great mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's why we are trying to increase our devotion to the Lord. Otherwise, what would happen? I know that, at least personally for me, that if Lord Chaitanya was not there, I don't think that I would ever be, Krishna conscious. Like for me, it has always been Krishna conscious means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu consciousness. And he prays, he makes a beautiful prayer. In the next verse, he says, "Oh, my merciful Lord Chaitanya." He says, "May the nectarian Ganges water of your transcendental activities flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue." So in such humility, right, he compares his tongue. He's speaking for us. Our tongues are like a desert. And he says that Lord Gauranga's pastimes are like, the Ganges water flowing. Just what beautiful analogy he gives. And then he says, in this beautiful water, what is there? They're like lotuses. And what are they doing? The lotus flowers singing, dancing, and loudly chanting Krishna's holy names. And then he says there are also swans and ducks and bees. And who are these in the water? They're the devotees. And he says the river flowing produces a melodious sound and gladdens the ear. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, he writes a very, very powerful purport, like all these purports now that are there. He says, our tongues are always engaged in vibrating useless sounds that do not help us realize transcendental peace. So that's why they're compared to a desert. And they need constant supply of refreshing water to make it fertile. And he says that, now listen to this, he says, the transient pleasure, that means the temporary pleasure derived from mundane topics of art, culture, politics, sociology, dry philosophy, poetry, and so on, is compared to a mere drop of water. Why? So if in a desert, if you get a mere drop of water, is it going to help us? It's probably going to frustrate us more. Because you are like, at least one drop you get, and suddenly now, so many expectations and more hankering. More false hopes. He says, because why? Because these topics, he says, have a qualitative feature. He says that they are saturated with the modes of material nature. That although they have a qualitative feature of transcendental pleasure, they are saturated with the modes of material pleasure, material nature. So they're tainted with these three modes. And then he says, therefore, neither collectively nor individually can they satisfy the vast requirements of the desert-like tongue. He says, people are, despite crying in various conferences, the desert-like tongue continues to be dry. You see Prabhupada's, he's hammering so strongly. And then he says, for this reason, people from all parts of the world must call for the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are compared to swans swimming around the beautiful lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or bees humming around his lotus feet in transcendental pleasure, searching for honey. And then he says, this dryness of the material happiness, no matter how much we try, different philosophers who cry for Brahman, liberation, and similar dry speculative subjects, he says, the urge of the soul proper is different. He says the soul needs something different. Doesn't need all these philosophical speculations and he says the soul can be solaced only by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his many bona fide devotees who never leave the lotus feet of the Lord, and nor do they try to become imitation Mahaprabhus. But they cling to the lotus feet like bees that never leave a honey-soaked lotus flower. So who do we have to hold on to?
Lotus feet of
Yes. And he says, then he compares this movement, Krishna consciousness movement. He says, it's like the Ganges water. It's full of singing and dancing about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada is comparing the Krishna consciousness movement to this flowing Ganges water. So what does this mean for us? Yes. So we have to go deeper. Right? Yes. And stay in the flow of this amazing movement, this mission. If we use our dry tongues to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, as exemplified by Lord Chaitanya, then we would taste the sweet nectar and enjoy life, Prabhupada says. Everyone wants to taste sweet nectar and enjoy life? Hmm? Then he says, all glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Sri Nityananda. This is verse number 3. All glories to Advaita Chandra and all glories to the devotees of the Lord. And now he says, let me try to describe the meaning of the third verse. He says, Vastu Nirdesha Rupa Mangala Charan. So this Mangala Charan is Vastu Nirdesha. Right? This is the third type. The third category of Mangala Charan. Defining the objective. And this verse we will sing again like the Shad Goswami Ashtakam. So we can sing together. Yad Advaitam Brahmopanishadi Tad Asya Tanubha Ya Atmantaryami Purusho Iti Saswam Savibhavaha Sat Aishvarya Purnaya Iha Bhagavan Saswayamaya Na Chaitanya Krishna Jagati Para Tattvam Param Iha. So this is a very, very long verse. And in this verse, Kaviraj Goswami is saying that what the Upanishads describe as the impersonal Brahman is but the effulgence of his body, and the Lord known as the Super Soul is but his localized plenary portion. Okay. And who is that Lord? Lord Caitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, full with 6 opulences. He is the absolute truth, and no truth is greater than or equal to him. It's a very bold statement. That Lord Caitanya is the absolute truth because he's Krishna himself, and the Brahman is the growing, the effulgence of his body, and the Paramatma is the localized plenary expansion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there is no truth greater than or equal to him. Now there's going to be a 2-page purport, 2.5 pages. And I will try to simplify it but still without avoiding the points that Srila Prabhupada makes. So first of all, Srila Prabhupada explains that the Upanishads, in this verse, Brahmo Upanishadi, right? So Upanishad, according to the Upanishads, the impersonal Brahman is but the effulgence of his body. Right? So the Upanishads, Prabhupada writes that they're the most philosophical, elevated portion of the Vedic literatures. And they're meant for persons who really want to get free from material association. And therefore they take on, they accept a guru, they accept a spiritual master for enlightenment. And he says the prefix upa, right, Upanishad, indicates that one must receive knowledge of the absolute truth from a spiritual master. So it's not possible to understand the Upanishads on our own. So we need a very transparent, via medium, a guide to help us understand these scriptures. And in the Upanishads also, there is the Brahman, or the impersonal aspect of the Lord, has also been described and heavily, spoken very highly of, Prabhupada says. And Prabhupada then says that this is the beginning of spiritual realization, the Brahman realization. And he explains in this purport, he goes one by one, and he describes the different stages of spiritual realization, starting with the impersonal Brahman. So I request you please be a little attentive, because it is little philosophically heavy, this part, but I'm sure you'll all be able to understand, because you have been hearing this for many years, so this will not be new to you. But some of these statements may appear fresh and new if you have not read the Caitanya Caritamrita. Amazing statements Prabhupada makes in the purports. So he says, this Brahman realization, what is it? It is a gradual negation of material variegatedness. So to put it simply, that means that it is the denial, it is the negation, denial of material variety. So material variety is illusion. This body is an illusion. Everything related to all the varieties in this material world, they're all illusory. So what do? They negate. Brahman realization means to negate the variety and move towards what? The oneness, one undifferentiated truth. No variety. The impersonal Brahman, just the effulgence, just oneness. Just in our experiences, just sunshine, Can't see anything else. The sun's so strong, can't see anything else. And Prabhupada says, he says, this is the distant experience of the absolute truth that one achieves through rational approach. So by a lot of logic and denial of material things, one comes to this platform. And he says it is like compared to one seeing a hill from a distance and mistaking it for a smoky cloud. Right? So from far, when we see a hill, it may appear like a smoky cloud. But Prabhupada says a hill is not a smoky cloud, but it appears to be from a distance because of our imperfect vision. So we may think that the Supreme Absolute Truth is this glaring effulgence. But Srila Prabhupada is saying that that is not perfect vision. That is a distant realization or experience of the Absolute Truth. And this experience, he says, in this imperfect or smoky realization of the Absolute Truth, spiritual variegatedness is conspicuous by its absence. That means there is no spiritual variegation. So there is no even spiritual variety is denied. Okay. First, deny material variety and then also spiritual variety. So this experience is therefore called Advaitavad, or the realization of the oneness of the Absolute. So just see in one paragraph, Prabhupada gives the essence of Brahman realization. Just see, so expertly, just in a few lines, he has given the whole tattva of the impersonal realization. This is Prabhupada's eloquence. Otherwise, imagine how many pages of purport you have to write to explain this. Then he says, similarly, the super soul, which is called the Paramatma, what is it? It is the plenary representation of the Supreme Absolute Truth, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. It is Swamsha Vibhavaha. That means it is Prabhupada says that it is a plenary representation of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The Antarya. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, wherein Lord Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishta. I am situated in everyone's heart. So who's this? Who's situated in everyone's heart? Paramatma. And Paramatma is who?
Krishna.
Is the expansion of the Lord, the plenary expansion of the Lord. And thus, by this super soul feature, the Lord is all pervading. That He is present everywhere. And then the next point Prabhupada makes is that Lord Caitanya, now he's talking about the Bhagavan feature. Right? So he's spoken about Brahman, he's Paramatma, now Bhagavan. So he says, Lord Caitanya is also the master of all wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, because he's Krishna himself. So he's full of the 6 opulences. And he's described as Purna or complete. And in his feature as Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he is the ideal renouncer. Prabhupada writes, he's the ideal sannyasi. Right? Just as Sri Ram was an ideal king. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the ideal renouncer. He said that, Prabhupada writes, he accepted the order of sannyas and exemplified exceedingly wonderful principles in his own life. He says, no one can compare to him in the order of sannyas. He's complete in his renunciation. Others cannot imitate him, but can only follow in his footsteps as far as possible. Those who are unfit for this order of life are strictly forbidden by the injunction of the Shastras to accept it. But Lord Caitanya is complete in renunciation as well as all other opulences. Therefore, he is the highest principle of the absolute truth. And now he will say that if we analytically study the truth of Lord Caitanya, we will find that he is not different from Krishna. No one is greater or equal to him. Lord Krishna said to Arjuna, Mata parataram na anyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. And here it is confirmed that there is no truth higher than Lord Sri Caitanya. And now he concludes the purport. He says, the impersonal Brahman is the goal of who? One who cultivates the study of books of transcendental knowledge. So the Jnanis. And the super soul is the goal of the yogis, the one who perform various yoga practices. But one who knows the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he surpasses the realization of both Brahman and Paramatma, because Bhagavan is the ultimate platform of absolute truth. And in the end he writes that the Sat portion of the complete whole is realized when one realizes the impersonal Brahman, Sat. That means the unlimited existence, eternality. And Chit, knowledge, is experienced by whom? Paramatma. But Ananda can only be experienced by the Bhagavan realization. So I will read just 4 more verses and we will finish in another 5 minutes. So take 6. Brahma Atma Bhagavana Anuvadatina Anga Prabha Amsa Swaruptina Videya Chinna. Now listen to this very carefully. He says, the impersonal Brahman, the Paramatma and Bhagavan, there are 3 subjects. Just like in sentence, we have a subject and a predicate. Right? So he's saying the subject is who? 3 subjects. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Right? And the predicate is what? Predicate is the portion of the sentence that describes the subject. So, effulgence.
And the form.
Yes. So these 3 are predicates. So he says the predicate must always follow its subject. This is the rule of grammar. We have to keep this rule in mind because he's going to use this rule. One of the things he will do is that he will use this rule also to establish that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Lord Caitanya is Krishna himself. So he's going to use this in his logic, right? And then he says, now these two verses, actually we'll do it next time because it'll need explanation. We will cover these verses next time. We could. So any questions or anything you'd like to share? Any realizations? So what is he going to do in this? What is he saying in this verse now, third one? What is his intent of this verse that we just discussed today?
It is about understanding the complete form of the Lord and practicing the devotion for it. Rest are incomplete.
Okay. Now be more specific.
Lord is present in the three different forms, but the real Anand we can get from his original Bhagwan form.
Okay. See the translation of the verse. What is being said?
Establishing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he is the Supreme Lord himself.
Yes. And what else? No. Yes. Nobody is equal or greater than him. But something else. He goes further. He says Brahman is what? He's also describing where.
Bodily effulgence.
Yeah. Whose bodily effulgence?
Mahaprabhu.
Ah. And who's Paramatma?
He is only Mahaprabhu.
Plenary portion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the statement. Right? And this is what he's going to prove in the rest of the chapter. He's going to explain in great detail with great support from various scriptures. He is going to establish this fact. Okay. Because he's made a very bold statement. People will say, hey, who, Lord Chaitanya? He's just, ये भगवान के भक्त हैं, अवतार हैं, ऐसे ही हैं. रामकृष्ण भी है वैसे, ये भी है ऐसे, वो भी है. Put him in that category. He's just a very divine saint. But here, Kaviraj Goswami is saying, no, he is Krishna himself. And Brahman is his bodily effulgence and Paramatma is his plenary portion. This we have to get in our heads. We have to have clarity and conviction what Kaviraj Goswami is saying. And we should be able to, by studying this chapter and the rest of the Caitanya Charitamrita, we have to learn how to establish that. And he's going to do it like a great acharya. He will establish this fact, from quoting from many different verses. So yes, it appears a little complex, but when we think about his intent, it's very clear, very simple, very direct. Yes, verses long, long Sanskrit words, but if you break it down simply, it's very clear what he wants, what he's trying to establish. Okay? So let us not forget this, because the rest of the entire chapter is going to be based on this, explaining this verse and establishing this verse. So is this too heavy? Everyone seems a little blanked out by the impersonal Brahman. Huh? No? No? Yes.
We say that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful avatar, and then we say that no one knows him, or he makes himself not available to everyone. So if he is so merciful, or he wants to bestow mercy or love of
Recording
Krishna,
stopped.
then why his incarnation is not in the prime incarnations? It seems like a
So, your question, what you just said, is partially incorrect. Your statement. You said he doesn't make himself fully available. Right? It's not that. He is hidden because he comes in a form of a devotee. That's why he's called Channa Avatar. Right? It's not that he is not available for everyone. He is the most accessible. Out of all the avatars, he's the most accessible. He made himself most available in every form. Now, people don't take him seriously because he came in a form of a devotee. So that's the catch. It's not that he's not available. The way he is available, no other avatar is available.
So what I mean by he's not available, that most of the people don't know about him.
Yeah, so he has left a mission for us. He has left a mission for us. When we discuss chapter 8, then we'll understand that that he has left a mission, and this mission is gradually manifesting. And it will manifest by his mercy. He's the most accessible, he's the most magnanimous, most merciful. Parama Karuna, Pahu Dui Chana, Nitai dāsā.
So once someone knows about him and knows about his qualities, then he becomes that person becomes attracted. But when we go to outside world and talk about who is Lord Chaitanya? So my question came from that.
Yeah, so that's why Prabhupada has given us Caitanya Caritamrita. So we can study deeply and understand who Lord Chaitanya is and share with the rest of the world based on Shastra, philosophy, logic, contemplation, vichar. We've done a lot of vichar and we are presenting Lord Chaitanya not in just some emotional way. Okay, you just sing and dance and that's it. But behind the singing and dancing, there's all kinds of amazing siddhanta. But we have to study and understand. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, those who try to merge into Brahma effulgence, do they think that these scriptures are not bona fide, or they think that what Lord is saying about himself, that I manifest as a Brahma effulgence, as a Paramatma, and as a Bhagwan. So what they think, that this is not relevant, that not bona fide, even Lord is saying.
But they're just more attracted to the other feature.
And even when there is no anand, they are attracted to just.
Yeah, because there is a relief from material misery. There's relief. That when we don't engage in material activities, there's relief. So for some, the relief is worth it. Worthwhile.
And they don't think beyond that for that anand. They don't.
Yeah, because they think form has caused me so much distress. Dealing with the forms of this material world, sometimes many times, it's not a very pleasing experience. It can be very painful. So people say, absolute truth cannot have form.
Prabhuji, but what we have seen is those who are believing in the impersonal Brahman, they also believe in the Paramatma. That the Paramatma is also there in the humans.
Yeah, they believe in Bhagwan also. But they feel that Brahman is a more superior realization. They believe in Bhagwan also. They will say, you do puja, you do kirtan, bhakti, but ultimately to transcend all this. But for us, it's the other way around. Starts from Bhagwan,
Ends also there.
ends there as well. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, I want to understand difference between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Kaladhar Pandit. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself in the mood of Radharani, and Kaladhar Pandit is Radharani. So what is the difference?
So the difference is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, but in the bhav of Radharani. So he's Krishna himself. Krishna's physical form, bhav of Radharani. So there's two in one. Body of Krishna, right, physical manifestation of Krishna, and mood is of Radharani. But Gadadhar Pandit is the direct incarnation of Srimati Radharani.
He has all the qualities of Radharani.
Yes. Huh? Yes. It's a long subject, but so Srivasadi, like Srivas Thakur, such an exemplary grihastha, and the personification of a pure devotee. He's considered the avatar of Narad Muni. And he demonstrated that one can be a grihastha and still be engaged completely in loving and serving the Supreme Lord. And he was so devoted that the Lord made his house the prime place for his kirtan. I mean, in his deepest ecstasies, in the kirtan was it in the Srivasangan. Of course, later on also he did manifest those ecstasies in the Gambhira. But, the real bonding with the devotees in so much affection, and closeness that happened in his house. So you can imagine his position. The Lord would come with all his associates and they would sing and dance, throughout the night. And there are wonderful pastimes in his house. But since we don't have time today, but we can pray to him that he was able to attract the Lord and all his associates to come to his house and perform the most amazing kirtan. So even though we may be householders, but that is not a obstacle, right? So we can pray when we hold on to the lotus feet of such great householders like Srivas Thakur. Then, by his mercy, maybe devotees will be attracted to come and do kirtan in our house. That's why I said, Jaya Jaya Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Gana. Jaya Jaya Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Gana. Shakti Deha Kore Yena Caitanya Varnana. Shakti Deha Kore Yena Caitanya Varnana. This is the secret.
If I'm not mistaken, that Narayani was his niece only?
Yes.
Mother of Krishnadas Kaviraj, who's Chaitanya.
No, sorry, that is Vrindavan Das Thakur. Okay, so thank you all. We can ask the question because we just offer push like flowers to the deities and then we can discuss personally. So thank you all very much for joining today, this wonderful celebration. Many of our regular attendees are traveling today. So we have I think 60% of the attendance that we usually have, but still, thank you very much for coming, and thank you to all Mataji's relatives are here, brothers here, Prabhuji, Let us welcome Prabhuji and his family. And I saw Mataji, Prabhuji's sisters also here. Where is she?
Yeah, she's in the.
Huh?
Yeah, she was.
Where is she now? She's some. Okay, Hare Krishna. Mataji. Yes. Mataji's parents, they're inside. He's sitting there. He was sitting on the chair. Okay. So let us welcome them enthusiastically by chanting the Mahamantra together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. They're very